Beautiful being, are you on the awakening journey? Have you been on the awakening journey for a while and all of a sudden things are getting very dense? Things are getting piling up. You're feeling a lot of deep emotion, deep hurt, deep wounding, childhood wounding. And you're like, really? This now? I thought we covered all this. Stay tuned. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. This is my channel. I'm Rebecca Abraxas. We're here remembering our greatness together and sharing. So let me know your awakening story and what's happening with you. Now, what I'm about to say is not meant to be bragging at all. It's lining me up for the pearl at the end that's happening for me on my awakening journey that I thought would be helpful to some people. So here I go. So when I was 19, I started my awakening journey by the Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life book. I went through the whole book and did it. And then at 19, my mom brought me to upstate New York to Guru Maya's birthday event where she gave us all Shakti Pa with a peacock feather. And I remember after that moment feeling so peaceful, and I remember walking the peace path and just feeling so like glowing inside. Fast forward to about 26, I went through a really hard time with a breakup, and I went to therapy. I became a born-again Christian, took Jesus Christ into my heart, studied scripture every day, and that was working for a while. That was really giving me a lot of perspective. And then a few years later, I went deeper into some practices with the Course of Miracles. I spent a whole year doing the workbook and studying it with a group. That was really intense. It really pulled the rug out from under me, and I got to look at some things from a real broader perspective. A few years later, then I became a certified yoga teacher, and started studying yoga therapy. And that gave me an insight to trauma that was locked in the body. It helped me release a lot of resistance. It was amazing. And from there, I was on my yoga mat one day and I got this guidance. It was like a voice that came to me. Go have a family. This is going to be the biggest thing that brings you awakening. So I was like, okay. So I went into family. I found my partner pretty quickly after that. We had a baby 6 months later. Yeah, kind of life led me, and there it was. And then I really went into family life with just this go get it attitude of like, okay, this is the path. So I used family as path, as a spiritual path. I studied attachment parenting and conscious parenting. I went to parenting seminars. I had a mom and me journal where I would journal about my parenting experiences. And it was a path of awakening because it really brought me to my knees every day. And I really worked with the triggers I was having with parenting. And I really tried to expand myself and live from that inner peace that my yoga practice taught me about. And I really tried to parent from that. I even got this tattoo. And it says, "What would love do?" when my second son was born. And I put that on my body because I wanted to every day come from a loving space when I was parenting. And that was to remind me. From there, I did marriage counseling and also got into access consciousness bars and became a certified Holy Fire Reiki master and a certified Holy Fire Karuna Reiki master to bring that healing energy and help with our family dynamics. All of us together were a pretty intense dynamic. And it really set the stage for some deep, deep awakening work. So I thought I was doing all the work. So from there, I was led to study the Bhagavad Gita, which brought in some more awareness. And then I was guided to Marconics and doing the Marconics protocols that helped me supposedly release 49% of my karma. And I really felt that a lot of things leaving. Yeah, so 49% of my karma. So there I was doing the work, creating awareness, expanding consciousness, facing things that were coming up. Now, in this moment, my kids are 18 and 15. And the past 4 years have been very, very intense with my oldest son. The blame and the shame that is coming from my oldest son, bringing up all this blame, shame, guilt, and regret, things that I didn't know were there. And all this awareness is coming now of my childhood wounding. I thought I was someone that moved on quickly, that was able to be an allowance of things and not be that emotional. Well, guess what, guys? It seems that everything that I just told you about has gotten me ready for this moment in time. I've been able, through what I just went through, I have been able to release my ego, awaken to certain perspectives, feel strong enough in my emotions and my being. And now, here it comes. The density of working through healing my lost inner child. All the feelings that I just could not work through as a child. And all the triggers and behaviors and reactivity that came from. And that was in the parenting of my kids that I tried ever so hard not to do, is now coming to the surface. And now I'm strong enough to see it, look at it without complete self-sabotage. And what's coming out of this experience, of this very dark, dense time for me, is this path of self-love, self-compassion. And so recently I've gotten myself a therapist, and I'm super thankful because I have seemed to have manifested the perfect therapist for me, who is on the awakening journey herself. And we are going to be doing EMDR together. I have found myself in the midst of a parenting healing workshop called Parenting Pause from Parenting Joy work. And I have found these books that I am working on diligently. So this is what happens when we're on the healing journey. It's not linear. And just because we've done 25, 30 years of practice and inner work doesn't mean that the inner child work is done. And that's what I've come to. And the pearl of this is that if I can really walk this journey of releasing and being with and healing my childhood triggers and trauma, then perhaps whatever my children have gotten along the way from this kind of lineage of handing down trauma and triggers, perhaps this will give them a leg up on theirs. And perhaps with finding my own self-love and self-compassion, they will be able to model that as I give that out. And, you know, and it's so funny because I learned Reiki and energy healing because I knew I wasn't a perfect mom. Maybe it was 80-20, maybe it was 70-30, I don't know. But I really was a conscious, pretty good mom, I thought. But there was times that I wasn't. There was times I reacted. There's times I was triggered. And remember, my impetus for learning energy work and becoming a Reiki master was to help my children process and be with the trauma energy that I may have caused for them. So I was kind of confused by how my son, my oldest son, has now shown to be really traumatized by some of the stuff in his childhood. And I'm working through that guilt and that shame and that regret. You know, my My younger brother just had a new baby, and I look at that baby and I get a little sad on some level, because I wish I could go back. I wish I could go back with where I am now and parent my beautiful, beautiful babies from that healed being. But that's not what my healing journey led me to. My brother also waited till he was 40 to have a child, and I had mine at 32 and 35, and I wasn't done. We're never done with our healing journey, but I hadn't been able to get to the healing of my childhood trauma quite yet. And so I was kind of processing that through parenting my kids, and now with the reflection of my teens, of what they are reflecting and saying back to me, as hard as it is to hear, I get to really do the depth of this work now. And the awakening journey before me has helped me get to the point to really be able to hold this without completely crumbling. So hang in there, trust the journey. And if you have done so much inner work and spiritual work, and you're wondering, why is this coming up now? Why is this intense, deep, dark, dense stuff coming up now? It's because you have done an amazing job with the groundwork to release your ego, to hold yourself in compassion enough to be able to go through this now. Beautiful being. Have compassion for that. Have love for that. Have appreciation for that. Let's together let go of that habit of guilt and shame. And just trust this process that life has us on. Just because you are going through this density and these deep emotions and deep healing right now doesn't mean you're not awakened. It doesn't mean that you're not vibrating high. Perhaps it means the opposite. You're vibrating so high that this stuff has to go. It's just not a match anymore. So be with it. Be present with it. Integrate it. Neutralize it. Find the broader perspective. And be the example of compassion and love for yourself. And so that we can give that out even more fully to others. I hope this pearl was worth waiting through this 15 minutes. So I'd like to do is just give a little bit of light language for us all to be with the density, to integrate it, and to neutralize it. Beautiful being, you are enough. You are lovable. You are enough. You are worthy. You've done a beautiful job up until this moment. Let's trust the process. Namaste.